Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Show with your host, Jeff Lopes, where we bring you the world's top athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, influencers, and their journeys to success.
We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today Chef Michael Silverstein. What is up, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
This is going to be a ton of fun.
Yes.
Usually we have a lot of individuals. When I get them on, I try to run my podcast as curious as possible, so I learn as least I can about my guests. But you're a little different because my son and myself have followed you on 2 TV journeys, which have been incredible. And so I know a little bit more about you than I would have normally in my guests. So I'm excited to learn a little bit different side of you. Like, let's start off with Michael. Like, growing up, what got you in love with cooking, piano? Give me your childhood. Let's talk about that.
Whoa, we're going deep. We're going right into this.
Love it.
First of all, thanks for having me. This is fun. Man, going all the way back. I'm kind of a wild child, so my life has been a bit of chaos. And I mean that kind of in a good way. Like, I kind of self-created this chaos, but and you could see that when you watch Masterchef. I don't don't want to get like into spoilers and stuff. There may be people who like watch on Hulu later, but I'm a little chaotic in the kitchen too. I'll just say that. So I think this show captured a bit of who I really am, for better or for worse. But going all the way back, I kind of have a love for a lot of things. I think part of my whole story is that I've found passion in a lot of things in my life, from music to design to food. And through my life, those things have weaved together in some really funny ways. But I remember being a kid, always loving food. First of all, watching my mom cook and other people, extended family. Food was a big part of our life. My mom, when I was a kid, gathered like all of our grandmothers and aunts and extended families' recipes and put together a cookbook for us to kind of memorialize our family recipes. And I remember from a young age just being excuse me, like honestly touched by that. Really kind of kicked off an early understanding that food is love, right? Like, this is how I was taught to show love, is you cook for people. And that became a passion that drew me into the restaurant space very early. I got my first job at 13 years old in an Italian restaurant, working illegally under the table, no work permits, getting paid cash, in the back of the kitchen, like polishing silverware and whatever. And I'd get a $20 bill at the end of the night, and I thought it was the coolest shit ever. Like, I thought I was the shit, like, back there with all these. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, good. All these like people fucking screaming, cussing, multiple languages being spoken, smoked, whatever I was about to say. That's probably true too. I think I just got sucked into that chaos, that excitement, that thrill around food early. And that was kind of the point where I was like, you know what? I could work with this. This is something I could do. I'm super ADHD, clinically speaking, from a young age. And so I can't just sit in an office. I can't, I've tried. I've had office jobs. I tried. I want to. God, fuck, it would be amazing to just get a paycheck every week. It's just not who I am. So yeah, I started really young, worked all the way through to my 20s. I actually went to school in between, went to college for architecture, got into design. All this shit was going on in my life. And then at 25, I got really burnt out and working at restaurants. I got just tired of the shit hours and late nights and shit money. And I left. I really always had this dream of kind of almost HGTV style, like flipping a house. I just gave it up and was like, let's see if I can do this. And I bought a piece of shit house in the hood. And over 3 years, like, myself renovated it and like literally like dabbled in design for a while. That house did great. I sold that house, started doing it again. Next thing you know, a few years later, I have a little real estate flipping company by accident.
Interesting.
I'm trying to get through this quickly.
No, don't make it quick. Let's take our time.
Look, you asked for this. So
I love it. I love it.
I can't sum up 35 years. I got into real estate really big at that point and just really loved it. Got really super into designing and renovating homes. And through that stress of that business, I also sort of was just continuing to sort of gain weight and get really unhealthy. This will all tie back together.
Yeah.
So I did real estate for a few years while just sort of kind of not taking very good care of myself. And so I was like almost 350 pounds by the time I hit 30, and kind of had this like light bulb moment where, my doctors were like, you're pre-diabetic, you're in trouble. This isn't, for me, it wasn't like, oh, I don't really care about how I look. I'm not like bougie like that. I don't really care. But I had that moment, kind of that rock bottom moment. Where I was like, oh shit.
Your health is wealth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I had that moment where I was like, all right, something needs to change. So I had done a little bit of dieting. I think we've all probably tried to lose weight here and there once or twice in our life, and you lose a few pounds, you gain it back. Yeah. I sort of fell into keto because I was like reading about it. I'm like, wait, you can eat like butter and steak and shit and lose weight? Like, that sounds cool. I could do that. It worked, man. Within a few weeks, I was feeling better. Weight started to come off slowly. I got really into it. And I started taking my chefy skill set and applying it to keto protocol, I guess you could say. And my fiance at the time was like, you should be sharing this. Like this food might be helpful to somebody. Yeah. I had no plans on being in social media. I have never once in my life wanted to be on television. And I started sharing the keto food I was making on Instagram. And like immediately it started to kind of pick up some traction. And a few months in, I had a few thousand followers, and I got a phone call from an LA number on my cell phone. And it was like, hi, this is Jessica or whatever. I work for Gordon Ramsay. Can you be in New York in 3 days?
That's how that happened. So random. So you never applied?
No, I was invited.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was not what I expected. Yeah.
No, there's a couple ways to get on these shows. I mean, sometimes these like recruiters and casting people just follow the web. I don't know. They're on social media. Most of the time, like Masterchef does these big American Idol style city auditions where anybody can show up and they line up with the signs and it's a big thing. I kind of had like, I went right through that into the next round. And I drove to New York City 7 hours with a cooler and some duck that I had cooked the day before. I showed up and served it cold for Gordon Ramsay's team. And they were like, I think their words were, oh, you knocked this out of the park. I think I'll never forget that.
Wow.
A couple of months later, I'm being flown to LA, and I am on the set of MasterChef back on season 10. That was 2019. So it was about 3 years ago. So I bring all that up for many reasons. One, you asked, but also the weird progression of my life. It has always been something that I look back on and think about a lot. Like, you never know who's watching. You never know what's possible if you're open to it. You never know, I don't know, kind of where life could take you if you just sort of like let go a little bit. So I learned a lot through that process because I'm actually pretty shy. I'd never done TV work. I never really set out, like I said, for this. But it also became a life-changing moment for me where now I'm cooking on TV. It re-sparked my love for cooking in a way that I had lost. And really started a whole new chapter in my life. So I left the real estate industry, I left real estate to get back into food. Now I work for myself full time as a content creator, chef, cookbook author, TV, something. And it all happened in a matter of like 3 years.
I was able to say that period is roughly like 3 years. Yeah. It is insane. I never thought it would be that process. Like, I thought your journey would be like, I'm a chef. I'm working my way. I audition. Like, that's a totally 360 than I expected. So going there, obviously you're applying yourself, you're taking a chance, you're having an opportunity. A lot of people would shy away from the opportunity. You, like you said, you said a little inverted. You weren't really ready to be on TV. You went there. I think that's what made it so special, because when as an outsider watching you, you're authentic. And I think that's the easiest way to describe it. You're watching, you like, when you saw your I guess your quote unquote competition exiting the show, your tears, like your emotion when you're on the, like, it was very authentic. And I think that comes naturally because it's you. Everything you was brought to the screen was you. So I love that. I love that so much. Now, when you're on that set, just for the audience to know that from the beginning to the end of recording of a season, like how many weeks is that? Are you like locked down? Like I'm at a hotel, I'm cooking all day. Like, do you have interaction with friends, family? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and there's a lot I can say, and there's a lot I can't say.
Yeah, of course.
I'll walk the line on that. I'll walk the line as best as I can. So, and also I had two different experiences because one season was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
This new All-Star season was filmed a year ago, so it was smack dab in the middle of the COVID era, and so we were in what you might have seen, like, kind of like they call it a bubble, like a COVID bubble, like NBA All-Star. So it's like this idea where basically everybody involved is locked in together, and we don't really access the outside world.
Interesting.
So I was in this filming bubble essentially, and what that means is they rented out the whole floor of one hotel, and we all just stayed there the entire time. We couldn't even go down to the lobby. Food was only delivered to us and dropped off in front of our door. And then the only time we left our floor of the hotel was to go to set. So in the morning, we would get escorted kind of through a back door of the hotel into a little tinted bus van thing. And we would go straight to set, film all day, come home at 9-10 p.m. and go right into our room. We didn't even have a key to our room because they didn't want us to be able to sneak out at night. So we were literally, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but in a sense, it was sort of like a really luxurious prison lockdown, in the sense that, like, we couldn't really control when we came or left. We didn't have a ton of freedom, but that's not to say it's like being in jail. I mean, we were in a nice hotel. It was a great experience in that regard. And we got really close to each other because of it. And I think you can see that in this new season. We spend every night basically just in the hallways, drinking, studying, whatever we were doing, listening to music. We owned the hotel floor, so we all just kind of like hung out in the hallway. So it was a really serious experience. It was very bonding for us, but we did have our cell phones and laptops, so we were able to kind of communicate with the outside world. We weren't allowed to use social media. They were just a little worried that people would be able to like tell where we were if we were like in the hotel, or somebody could recognize the hotel walls or whatever. People are weird out there. I guess they just didn't want us really on socials. But I could call, I got out every day, called my parents, called my partner, like, we made it work. The whole process was about 3 months, September, October, November.
So that long of a process, huh?
Yeah. Without really being in the outside world.
That's interesting. That's
intense. And you're chronically underslept, chronically stressed out just because it's a high pressure environment. I mean, it's intense. It's a really hard experience. It's the coolest shit I'll ever do, but it's really brutal also.
Yeah. Like I've had a couple of guests who actually became friends of ours that one of them was on a reality show for the UFC. He was in essentially in a house with a bunch of fighters for 8 weeks. And he said it was the worst experience of his life because they would push them to drink and they wanted them to overreact. It was a different scenario. You're looking at fighters, but they would push them to overreact and put them in scenarios where they would be so bored they would cause trouble, and it would obviously bring TV time, right? And he said it was the worst experience he's ever had. He would never do it for no matter the amount of money ever again. But yours is a different experience, right? I mean, altogether. But from the first time you were on was season 10, correct?
Yeah.
That gap, like as soon as you were done that episode, was the doors just like wide open, or you had to go out there and, okay, I'm going to start a book now. I'm going to start, like, how was the process to getting where you are? Because a lot of people, that opportunity is there and they don't really take advantage of it. But obviously you have, and you've taken it to another level with your social media. And I love your social media. I love your Instagram account. Where did you find the opportunity when you left that show, when you finished that season 10, to really turn it on? And obviously you ignited the passion again of cooking, but how did you take that into, okay, I'm going to start my book. I'm going to start, like, where did that whole process work? Did you have a team behind you just push you towards that? Like, was it all you? Like,
No. So I understand what you're asking too, because, I think a lot of people see TV shows like Masterchef or whatever theme it is, right? Like it could be any, not just cooking. You don't get the immediate fame that you think. Like, I get a few followers, but it is not a key to the world. And I think a lot of people are really let down by that, I guess I want to say, who do reality TV. They assume that, oh, great, now I'm just going to be famous and I can do whatever I don't. And what I have found and observed is that the people who do make it out of reality TV and make a career out of it, kind of do it in spite of the show, or like, I don't know if that's makes any sense. It's like you have to build a brand that is more than the show.
100%.
And so I think for me, there's some luck involved, certainly. And I think luck is an interesting word we could get into, because it's also what you do with it. But there's some luck involved. But also I have been relentlessly clear about who I am, what I do, on and off set. And, my passion for cooking and writing recipes, I think, comes through to people, even though I didn't even do very well. Like, there's no reason that I was 15th on season 10. And I've done a lot with that. And I think what I'm trying to say is that I don't really think what came next happened because of MasterChef. I think that helped lubricate.
Yeah. That's a good word.
The next steps. Yeah. It helped lubricate that next step in my journey, but I don't think it was because of that. Otherwise, everybody would have gotten book deals, or everybody would have come out and built a career around this. And so I want to say a lot of hard work and good luck also helped. But I got out of the show and really decided that I was going to put 100% into this. And we filmed in early 2019, season 10, and it came out only 2 months later or so. So it didn't have such a long gap. But I got out of that show before it even was on air and started like going 100 miles an hour, writing recipes, posting, making videos. I just went 150 miles an hour, built a website. Like within 2 months, I basically had gone all into this because I was like, this is my shot, And by the time the show was over, even though I was only in 9 episodes, I had basically no plan for any other work, but I just had to make it work. I actually picked up moves.
I love that. No plan B. I love that.
No plan B. I think sometimes you need to get that uncomfortable.
Yeah. I love that.
In fact, I the week before the finale that I wasn't even in, I was not even on the show at that point, but a week before the finale, I picked up and moved from Pennsylvania to Austin, Texas, literally with no plan. I was just like, we have to get uncomfortable and make this work. I have to find a way to make this
Did
work.
you move on your own or move with your partner? Like,
we moved together. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
We rented a house from online. Like we literally never saw it. We're just like, let's just do something crazy.
Why Texas? And I mean, obviously there's a lot of entrepreneurs and Joe Rogan, everybody seems to be moving to Texas, but what was the reasoning for Texas? This the barbecuing, like the cooking, the meat, like the keto diet.
Fine. Yeah, no, the food's phenomenal. We just liked it here. I don't really know. I think it was just something radically different.
Yeah,
that's the truth. I think it was just something radically different. And I felt at that point in my life, everything was all mixed up anyway. And so I thought, just let's do something completely out there. And my fiance was like, I don't really care where we go as long as it's hot. I'm like, all right, so we got Florida, Texas, or California, and I can't afford either of those things with no fucking career. So let's just go to Texas and make it work. Honestly, it was kind of that simple. And we moved here on a whim. 2 weeks later, I swear to fucking God, 2 weeks later, I got an email from a publisher like, hey, we like your work. Would you be open to a cookbook? 2 weeks after I got here.
Wow.
And,
so I was going to ask you, did you search for that too? You have, it's just been the right spot at the right time, and you've been ready, which is, you know what? Kudos to you, Michael, because a lot of people don't put the preparation or the time in to be ready for when an opportunity comes, or are not mentally prepared for it. And obviously both times you were, and look at what has got you, right? Have you been with the same publicist for all 3 books?
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 5-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, but my first book deal was crap.
It was?
I love working with them, but I think where I was I had I didn't have a huge following. I didn't have any credibility in that world yet. And so at that point, again, this is why, yes, like you almost said, yes, an opportunity can strike, but I think there are also times when you really have to be ready to sacrifice. And a cookbook is an immense amount of work, more than anybody could fathom. It's so much work. It takes a full year of work. And I basically made no money, and I was willing to do that because of my passion, because this is what I wanted to do. And I wanted to prove myself to myself and prove myself to others that this is something that I can do. And so I think, yes, when an opportunity strikes, you have to be able to take it. And there are times too, where you got to, kind of
grind
put your ass in the air and grind out. Yeah. And so that's what I did. And it was immediately a bestseller. It was life-changing. So then from there on, now I have, because I kind of took a gamble. It went really well. So that was kind of crazy opportunity.
You gambled on yourself, which is another thing, which is amazing. Yeah. Amazing. It was funny because I don't know if you're a baseball guy at all, but the Yankees, Aaron Judge, same thing. He had a contract, could have signed a contract, said, I have 1 year left. I'm going to gamble on myself. He's having a Triple Crown huge year. And now his gamble on himself is going to bring him an extra probably $60-70 million contract right on top. So, I mean, gambling on yourself is so special because you're putting everything on the line, no plan B, putting everything on the line. So I love that.
Yeah. Let's go. And like, I know myself too. I know that I work best under pressure. So if I'm like, in a very uncomfortable situation, I will do my best work.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Let's go back to your weight loss journey. I think that's something a lot of people could really kind of just bring to light and really, understand and get something out of that weight loss journey. Let's talk about fitness, working out. Like, where was your journey? How much effort did you put into the fitness aspect? How much was it just the diet, the keto diet, like everything? And your keto diet, is this something you follow steadily still to this day?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that a bit. I think it's important.
Yeah. You just asked so many great questions. Short answer to the keto diet part. There's a difference between the keto that I did when I was actively trying to lose weight, and now where I'm in maintenance. Now I'm just trying to not gain it back. So I've been keto for now 4 years, consistently, but not perfectly. I don't only eat keto food. Yeah. But I kind of exist in a keto lifestyle, and I can get back to that in more detail. But the fitness is new. You asked so many great things. Fitness is new. The bulk. It's actually really interesting that we're talking because of Josh, because he actually had kind of a profound effect on me in one phone call we had together. So it's interesting that we know each other now because of him. But I remember having a phone call with him, and I did lose the bulk of my weight without ever walking into a gym. I did it all with food. And if you're really strict, you can do that. Yeah. You can track every calorie and be really, really diligent. And I do sort of believe that like weight is much more about, personally, I'm not a scientist, but I personally believe that weight loss or gain is really a function of the food. Health is a function of fitness, right? Yes. So there's other factors beyond your weight. You can be heavy and very healthy. Yeah. You can be very thin and very unhealthy. Yeah. So I think there's I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I always say, like,
weight is related to food.
I'm into fitness, right? So I understand, like, I always compare it to a door, a house, front door, back door. More calories coming in, less calories coming out, you're going to lose weight. Just, you can simplify it by that, right? Even if you're eating unhealthy, but you can still lose weight unhealthily, right? So you're just looking at that as calorie count, right? So I understand that.
And you could be, you know, have almost no body fat, but have, you know, super high blood pressure or be diabetic, what, you know, like, well, so I think it's a complicated thing, but I do think that weight is something that is more about food. Although with calories, you can offset that with exercise, but then you just get hungrier. Like, I do think that it's more about food, whereas health is much more related to fitness and activity and all that. But I did lose my weight just with food. I have kind of always been like kind of a nerd. I was never in athletics. I was in marching band and drama club in high school. Like, I never saw myself as an athlete. And I remember talking to Josh Perry about this on the phone on like kind of a coaching call. And he was like, well, you know, he challenged me. He's like, are you not athletic because you're not athletic, or are you not athletic because you decided that, you know, do not go to the gym because I told him, like, I hate going to the gym. I don't feel like I belong there. And he's like, you know, do you hate going to the gym because you actually hate it, or do you just hate it because you've decided that you don't belong? You know, like it's all up here. It's all in the mind.
Yeah. 100%.
And he explained it so much better than me, but it was a profound shift. This was about maybe a year and a half ago. So after I had lost the weight, Josh was one of the main inspirations for why I ended up going to the gym. Actually, I didn't even go to the gym. The first thing I did was, as a part of my fitness journey, was I just started walking every morning. Like, I feel like people think like walking is for like old people or something.
Just move. I always say just move.
It's a great workout. Yeah. And actually walking can be really good for weight loss.
Yeah.
And so I'd put on a podcast or whatever and just walk every morning for an hour, 90 minutes. And that led me to, I was like, wait, what if I like jogged this first block of my walk, you know? And I decided I hate running, but let me just jog for the first block because I want to, not because I have to. Or, you know, so that turned into jogging, turned into, you know what, I'm going to go get a gym membership. And I recently hit my 1 year mark of doing weightlifting at the gym. And then about 2 months ago, I'm doing hot yoga almost every day. So I do hot yoga now every day. So I'm in this like complete new phase of my life. At 35, I have discovered fitness. And I encourage anyone listening who may be like me and have just never been the athlete of the family, that's never been on any sports teams, or, you know, just was kind of always the non-athlete of the family. You may actually be more athletic than you think. And who cares? You know, I used to feel like I never belonged in a gym because I didn't look like those gym guys, or couldn't run on the treadmill like those women and men that I'm seeing just crushing it on the treadmill. Ignore it. Go to the gym and do what you like to do. If that means walk, if that means go for 5 minutes. One of the things that I played with was the 5-minute rule, because there are days where I really don't feel like working out. And so I apply the 5-minute rule. I'll just work out for 5 minutes. That's it. As long as I work out for 5 minutes, I did my work. And 5 minutes goes super fast. And half of the time you set a timer for 5 minutes and you end up staying a half hour because you have fun. Like, once you're in it, it's fun. Believe me, I sit in my car in the parking lot outside the gym and I'm like, I don't want to go in. Believe me, I do it too.
I think we all do it.
Yeah.
I think we all do it. I want to say one thing there, Michael, is it's just even for our audience, it's just moving. It's the mental aspect, the physical aspect, our joints, our body. As humans, we're meant to move. And once you start doing it, you just feel better. You sleep better, you rest better, you think better, you think more clear. It's just moving your body. And it could be in any way. You said it could be a walk, it could be a jog, it could be exactly what you said, where I've talked to people and said, listen, you start walking for 20 minutes. And then from there, you jog for a minute, you walk for 2 minutes, you jog for 30 seconds, it's that process. And it's that domino effect. It's one domino a day, one moment a day. It's just, if you just keep improving that 1%, you're going to get better and better. And I think a lot of that mindset of, I don't like it, is just the results driven. Once you start seeing the results, that gives you that motivation to keep going, and it starts becoming a lifestyle, right? And once it becomes a habit and a lifestyle, it becomes part of you. Like you have now hot yoga, which is a different world altogether, right?
Yeah. different crowd than I find at the gym. For sure.
I love it.
But it's so fun. I think it all comes down to just being a little bit uncomfortable. I just think so much can happen when you try something new and get out of that rhythm that we all kind of find. And it is such a mental game. I think mental health is really important too. I think that plays into it. I don't think I could have done the weight loss had I not also started doing a bit of therapy and that doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. Although I'm sure there's a lot of things wrong with me. I don't think there needs to be such a taboo around mental health.
100%.
You have to only call a therapist when you're in crisis. You can just talk about shit.
Yeah.
I think it's all tied in: mental health, physical health, what we eat, when we exercise. I think it's all interconnected in one piece. One piece is not isolated from the other. And so I work on all three pretty religiously right now: my physical health, my mental health, and my food. All of those things are a big part of my kind of study right now in my life. So, yeah.
I love it. So it's a holistic approach, right? I mean, I always say it's mind, body, and spiritually. I mean, spiritually could be just your breathing, or you're reading a book, or taking time for yourself, or taking a little mini vacation, right? So those three components all work together. Let's get back to the show quickly. 3 judges. You got Joe, Aaron, and Chef Gordon Ramsay. Give me a little story of each one that our audience wouldn't have seen live. I want a little story of each one that you went through with them.
Oh my God, a story of each one. So broadly speaking, you'd be surprised how little we interact with them.
Seriously,
they're pretty cautious about favoritism. So we really don't get to individually hang out with them very often, which is frustrating. It's like I want to talk more with them. I think that I have, outside of the show, created some I don't know, friendliness. I wouldn't call us friends, but friendliness with Gordon and Aaron, who have been unbelievably, God, I don't even know what the right word is, caring, supportive. Like they really care about what they do. And are really good people. Gordon and Aaron are both really good people. They're tough, Gordon especially. He's tough, but he really cares. And I think a lot of people see Gordon in one of two ways: either they see him as a dickhead, and he can be, for sure, or they see it as like, oh, it's just an act. It's just an act for TV. And I would say both of those are kind of wrong. Kind of. Certainly Gordon has his brand of television, no doubt. The yelling and screaming and Hell's Kitchen vibe is definitely, it's not an act, but it's definitely part of his persona. And, but he really is that way. Even when the cameras aren't rolling, like he's screamed at us before when there were no cameras around. So it's not an act. But he's also not a dick either. Like all that comes from passion. And so I don't know if you ever had I took piano lessons when I was really little. I had like a teacher, that it's like, you don't want to disappoint them. It's like nothing's worse than like that strict teacher, but then you don't want to disappoint them. That's kind of the way it is with Gordon. He's tough to please. You really don't want to disappoint him. But Aaron is, man, I would just love to have a beer with him. He's just like the coolest dude. It's just like, I would just want to be friends with him. Like, just want to like go to a restaurant, have some beers, kick it with him. He just seems like the coolest guy. The best tea I can spill is about Joe, who is so distant from the show, from the cast. As soon as those cameras are wrapped, he's in the green room. He has never spoken to any of us. Outside the show, he just sort of comes there for a job and leaves. And that makes me feel a certain way about him, because we put our life into this. And I've reached out to him and he's just not particularly interested. So
seriously,
I think Joe is,
I guess, but you could watch the show and you could, if you actually focus on all three of them, you could see exactly what you're saying very clearly. I mean, Joe, he crosses his arms. He's very quiet. He's very to the point. You can see it's a job for him. It's very,
he's very honest. He's very honest. Like with his critique, I love his critique. And you'll see throughout the season, he's often really nice to me. Like, I think I impressed him with my food on multiple occasions. So in that regard, I have no beef with Joe or anything. Like, I love his critique. I find him to be really honest. I think he's the one of the three judges that's not a chef. He's a restaurateur. And so he kind of brings this perspective that's different than Gordon and Aaron, because you'll notice a lot of his critique is like, this is something that I would serve. This is, restaurant quality. Like, he's looking for a chef that could survive in the business of that we're all in. Whereas I think Gordon and Aaron are really just straight looking at flavor. Surprisingly, Gordon's not really impressed by like how you plate something. Like, he just he's not impressed by innovation. He's kind of a traditionalist. So a lot of the times that I would get really creative in the kitchen, didn't really particularly impress Gordon, but serve him a perfectly cooked steak and potatoes and he'll love it, because it's much more his approach to food. And so you kind of have these three very different personalities. I don't know how much they really like each other. It's so hard to tell.
It's interesting too.
There would be times where they would sort of clash, that they don't really show it on camera, but they would like, Joe would say, "Oh, I don't know, that's undercooked," and Gordon would be like, "No, it's not. It's fine," or whatever. Like, they would kind of bicker. And it never makes the edit, but they do kind of bicker, and it's funny to be there. It's really awkward. It's like when you're like someone's fighting in the room with you, and you feel really awkward.
I can see also you said Aaron, and he just has that cool vibe. I know it's the tats, just that personality, very laid back, but you can tell he's very honest and very passionate about what he does. Like, exactly, you can see exactly that. That's 100%. Interesting. Have like you said, you've spoken to both him and Gordon away from have you had any opportunity to work with them past the show, like doing anything with them, projects or anything like that? Or is there anything you could talk about?
No, not work particularly. Although Gordon did an editorial review and endorsed my second cookbook.
Oh, awesome.
Just on his own. So he has like a big quote on the cover.
I love it.
He reviewed, just on his own. He gets no benefit to do that. I literally just asked, and he was like, "I'd be happy to." Like, anything awesome. You need,
that's awesome.
And that's what I mean. Like, and so Aaron did the same thing on this new book coming out. Aaron did the same thing. Aaron, I didn't ask Gordon just because I was like, I don't want to overstay my welcome.
Of course.
But on this third book, I asked Aaron, and same answer. Like, it was so simple. It was like, anything you need, bud. Like, these guys really care. They want to support us. They spent the time to look through the book, write a review on it, for zero benefit to them, which, if it was all an act, why would they do that? Why would they want to support me on a book that's got nothing to do with them? And so I think that shows a lot of their character.
I think a lot of my mindset to Michael is like, I've been an entrepreneur, like I said, for 27 years. I went through a 3.5 year period where it took like almost 60 young entrepreneurs under my wing, and I coached and mentored them, never charged a penny. I have that mindset, and speaking, I mean, we obviously with Josh, I actually coached him just recently, and I don't charge anything. It's just that mindset of if I think successful people find enjoyment, especially when they see somebody that's passionate about what they love, to help them. And I think that's the biggest issue, is a lot of people that are in a situation, they're fearful to ask for help, or ask that question for help, or surround themselves around mentors. Sometimes you got to pay, sometimes you don't have to pay, but surrounding yourselves around the right individuals or people that are where you want to be it's like leaving clues of success, right? And I think something like you said, Aaron and Gordon, I mean, them helping you is because they see the passion you have, and this is something they love. This is their passion. It just comes second nature to help you, right? And I think it's so awesome that you're working with them in that direction. Let's talk about your cookbook. The first one, you said it takes a year to put together. How much mindset, how much work goes into, like, first making the recipes? Second, how do you know, like, when is it in your mind, like, okay, these are the ones I'm going to take? I'm sure there's a ton of recipes you try to break down. How hard is it to say, like, these are the ones I'm going to do? Did you get outside help? Was it family, friends? Like, how did you say, okay, these are the 20 or 30 recipes, whatever it is, I'm going to put in this cookbook?
My God, it's, there's no easy way to put this. I would say, think of it like writing any book. You start with getting your ideas out on paper, and then a lot of editing and revisions. So essentially my process is, I work with the publisher on the theme of the book. We don't even have a title usually till it's almost the end of the process.
Yeah.
Usually the whole book will be written before we have a title. But we have a theme. And within that theme, I will write basically a table of contents, what it could look like. And just start cooking. I just start cooking and taking notes. It becomes very obvious to me which recipe ideas in my head are just like bangers, and those are the ones that make it in the book, so I usually write upwards of 100, 120 recipes, and then that will get whittled down to about 70, 75. And then we'll work with the editing team and all that, which comes from the publisher, to really edit that down, sometimes even further. And I try, like I really want every one of my recipes to have a photo, and that's a choice that I make. A lot of cookbooks don't have that. I feel like the way food looks and is presented is just a really big part of it. Even if it's family style comfort food, like, it should look fucking delicious. And so, like, I want people to be able to connect with that. I want everyone to be able to open every page and see a big color photo. And that adds work for me, and kind of like you were saying, with the passion, and part of what I think has helped me in my career and why people like Gordon Ramsay like me even a little bit, is because I really don't take the easy way out. First cookbook deal, I didn't have the budget to hire a photography team. So I literally taught myself with YouTube videos how to be a food photographer. And now I have like a full photo studio in my guest room that I've shot all my cookbooks with, because now it's a new passion that I found, that I love food photography. I taught myself that because I had to, because I didn't have the money to go hire a $25,000 food photographer. Like that kind of relentless pursuit of perfection, with my wanting to kind of control every aspect of my art form, in a sense, it's something that I sort of wake up early and go to bed late thinking about. And so the process is really long. I mean, I'm basically cooking for weeks and weeks and weeks, sometimes 3, 4, 5 dishes a day, cooking them again and again and again, down to 1/8 of a teaspoon adjustments until they're perfect. Then I turn that into a massive Word document. I think that we call it a manuscript in the cookbook world. It's just basically a Word document version of the book without photos or formatting or design. It's just like a Word document. And I think my first book was almost 40,000 words or something. It's like 100 something pages of just text. And it takes months to write that much. And then every recipe I write a story, and, it's hard, it's really hard. I think one thing also that I learned a lot about in the cookbook world is that being a good chef does not make you a good cookbook author or a good recipe writer in general. I think there's amazing chefs that do things that I could never do. And then, I think what I do is a little different, because my job is not really to cook good food anymore. Now my job is to communicate how somebody else can cook good food. It's a very different skill set. And I had to completely shift my mindset from like, here's how I just cook, a little of this, a little of that, to how to actually develop in as few words as possible, with as few ingredients as possible, really delicious flavor that like even somebody who's never really cooked before could follow along. You can't use weird things. Like my cookbooks don't have like sous vide steak. Like it's all really fundamental cooking designed to make really good flavors, even like with a healthy twist. So I think it's taken a long while.
You use a healthy twist for all your cookbooks, right?
Yeah,
which is
they're
awesome.
all like sugar-free, gluten-free, keto, but you'd never know it. Like they're just good food. I don't use like weird stuff in them. It's just like regular food. And like you could buy my books and serve it with a side of garlic bread for all I care, and it would just be regular food. But it's a long process, and honestly, like everything else, my second book was better than my first, and my third book is better than both of the other ones, because I just have worked really hard to get better, I think.
Has anybody ever told you you're a natural entrepreneur? Just by your hustle, your drive, your passion, your perfection. I mean, it's that word entrepreneur is loosely thrown around. And I think a lot of people have that mindset where, are you born an entrepreneur? Can you teach somebody to be an entrepreneur? I believe you could teach somebody the skills to be an entrepreneur, but that mindset of that perfection, that hustle, that drive to try to make something better every time, I think you're naturally born with that. I'm a strong believer. I started my first company at 17. I'm 45 now. Like it's you have that in you, just that drive, that hustle, that grind. And I think just everything you're saying, I'm listening to, you're a natural entrepreneur, whether you're going to say you are or not, but I could tell you are, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I don't like think about that, but I don't disagree with you. And I think even at a very young age, that's why I wanted to work. Like I always want to work.
Yeah.
And what's interesting though, and I'll agree with you on certain aspects. I think on one side, what I think makes an entrepreneur beyond just a business thing is like, you have to do everything when you have to be, a writer, a marketer, a CFO, a COO, the HR department, until you're not, until you scale.
Yeah.
But that sort of mindset of like, I want to do everything. I want to develop the site. I think that's kind of entrepreneurial, right? And I have that where I want to do everything. I want to learn everything. We started this conversation by saying I have a lot of passions, and I think that is very much an entrepreneurial personality.
100%.
The part that I disagree with you maybe is that I am not particularly motivated by money. And that has been something that I come up against a lot in my life. And you know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, being an entrepreneur doesn't mean my mindset is, I look at finances as wealth, as a vehicle to freedom. I think of finances as a way to allow myself to do what I want, when I want, how I want. I got a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old that I work out with every day. I'm like, if you see go to my Instagram page, I'm like with my kids 24/7. It's allowed that being an entrepreneur has allowed me the freedom to do what I want, when I want. That's the engine for what I do. So
that's the wealth for you.
Exactly. Right. And that's why. So when you're looking at the word wealth or finances, it's how you look at that and what does that mean to you, the overall picture of your lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And, I think that I've had to learn that over time. Some of the times even when I had my real estate startup, I walked away from it when it was at peak profit. Like it was just, I walked away from it for Masterchef where you're not paid. I literally threw away a really successful real estate business I spent 5 years building and finally making like killer money, and was like, I'm done. I'm going to do something different. Like money. I think that and maybe this is entrepreneurial, but like, I like the hunt. I like the chase.
That's pure entrepreneur. That's pure entrepreneur.
Yeah. I guess so. I don't know, but I feel like the one thing that frustrates me about myself is like, I don't get particularly excited about money. I like the chase. I love the challenge.
Yeah. And money comes with it, right?
Hopefully. But again, I've taken so many business moves that don't pay or underpay because they get me closer to my vision.
Yeah.
Even if that means I have to do something on the side or whatever it takes, I will do whatever it takes to get to the end of the line. But I do see some entrepreneurs are just much better than me at like just, profit-driven decision-making. that's just probably not.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole idea of being an entrepreneur, I think is being able to wake up every single day and do what you love, being able to make your own calls, make your own hours, spend the time with your loved ones, spend the time with your family that you want. It's having that in financial freedom, but also having that freedom to do what you want, and also waking up with a smile on your day. There's no Mondays. You're getting up every single day with the passion to you're building something. You're seeing something grow. It's your baby, right? So it's just, there's so much that you're saying that it is exactly that, which I love. When let's talk about restaurants. Is this something that you eventually want to dive into, open? Okay. Let's talk about that. Okay.
I think that's the next chapter, honestly.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm working on some concepts right now and kind of looking at a couple different approaches. And again, like, so funny, that question comes really well placed after our last conversation, because I'm finding myself thinking about these restaurants much more from a business perspective than from a chef perspective. And there's a few reasons for that, but yes, 100%. I think that's the next chapter for me. I think it's the logical next step, but I also think it's the next challenge. As I was saying, I need a challenge. I need to chase the next.
Your next goal, your next adventure.
Yeah.
Restaurant
but
business.
I don't look at opening a restaurant as like, oh, I want to make like the next Michelin star thing and win all these awards as a chef. I'm like, how do I open, a restaurant in every city and, build scale into it and build longevity into it. I think a lot of chefs, for good reason, want to create something that is an expression of their art form. And if I can do that in my career, that's great. But I also want to make sure that I'm sort of ready for something bigger too, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense. I mean, the restaurant industry in general is, as an entrepreneur, somebody that's worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, like, it's probably one of the hardest industries. Because a lot of people come into it.
If you get it right, though.
Yes.
If you get it right, you get it right.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was going to say. You have to go in with the right mindset, the right understanding, the right concept. Everything has to be at the right location. There's a lot of aspects to it. And then there's a lot of things that happen that they're out of your control, right? I mean, you could go in and look at, for example, like in Canada, we're from Toronto, Canada, pandemic, 12,000 plus restaurants all locked their doors during the pandemic, which is just heartbreaking. But if you're ready to, I always say pivot. I mean, there's restaurants during the pandemic that strived. They really honed in on takeout and Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes and local serving businesses, and they strive to another level. So it's being able to pivot at the right time, which is, I think, an entrepreneurial skill. So are you like looking for places already? Do you already have a concept? I mean, pushing a little too close, asking too many questions?
No, say that you are. No, not shopping for real estate yet, but definitely building on the modeling right now. I have two very distinct concepts, and so I'm kind of I'm just at that point where I'm building out some modeling and looking at what type of funds and what those business models would look like. And once I land on one, then I'll go a little harder into like the type of square footage and space that I would need. I would love to have something kind of by the end of next year up and running, but that's a little aggressive, but I'd love to try. And also, like, on top of that, I'm not planning on slowing down with the other work that I'm doing either, which is part of what I'm thinking about around not only scale with like a restaurant, but like, how do I scale what I do as a person? This year, I hired my first employee as a part of the Chef Michael company. And I think that's been a huge shift in my thinking, because now it's no longer just me doing everything. So now I'm able to create an environment where teams are happening. And obviously I have subcontractors and accountants and that I'm not saying I do everything, but having a full-time employee working with me on the work that I'm doing with social media and cookbooks and where that will shift into the restaurant space will be interesting. I think the restaurant business is a people business more than anything else. And finding the right bar manager or finding the right head chef, I'm looking at it very much as an owner. I'm not planning to be in the back cooking every day. I need to be the owner of the business.
Exactly.
And part of that means finding the right teams. And I look at it the same way with Chef Michael as a company, as a brand. I can't be doing every single thing, but there's so much that only I can do. And I think that's one of the hardest things that from a business conversation that I've been really struggling with is like, how do I, nobody else can be.
You can't have that. I'm gonna cut in right now as an entrepreneur. I'm gonna do two things. The faster you could fire yourself from a position, the quicker you grow as a brand. That's the first rule, number one. Second is understanding that no one in your business that ever works for you, Michael, will ever have the passion or desire that you have. You have to eliminate that from your head right off the bat. Most 90% of jobs in a company or a business just have to be done. They might take a little longer than you would. They might not be as perfected as you would want it. It just has to be done. So once you could actually put that on a table and say, A, B, C, these three jobs, I could hire this guy and they'll be done. That's all you need. And now that allows you the freedom to start building other things, whether it's I was going to talk to, like, are you looking into actually building, like getting into the food industry and actually creating concepts of your own food, your own recipes that put on a grocery shelf? There's other aspects, but you only will ever have the time to do those things when you put the trust in other people to be able to do the day-to-day operations of each business. Yeah. That's the only way it'll grow, right? And the way you're talking right now about, I'm going to hire a bar staff and a bar manager, that's being an entrepreneur. You have that mindset. It's just allowing yourself just that freedom. Okay, I trust that person doing it. It might not be 1,000% the way I would want it to be done, but as long as the job gets done at a good level, I'm okay with it and understand that. And that allows me the freedom to do other things, right?
Yeah. And I'm working on it and I've made those mistakes. I've, even with my own business, I have somebody, like I said, that I hired and they're kind of running my blog. And there was a day where I went to edit something on the blog and she was simultaneously editing and we lost the blog post because the site crashed and it was in the middle of posting. And I created that because I didn't just let go, and those little micro moments where it's I'm learning how to let go of control because I've been in control of this for the last 3 years. Now I have to learn to let go and trust that other people, even if they don't know it, they'll figure it out or they won't. And then we'll cross that bridge. But letting go of control is hard for me.
It's hard for every entrepreneur. It's not you. I'm thinking every entrepreneur is like that.
Yeah. And I still don't know how. I'd love to find, but there's certain things like the food itself. I'm not sure how I could ever get into a scenario. I doubt Gordon Ramsay writes his cookbooks. I doubt he does. But I don't know how I could stomach that. I don't.
See, that's different. Something like that, I believe that has to come authentically through you. But I do understand I would say 80% of celebrities, their own bios, their own books, there's ghostwriters that write them all. They sit down with somebody, they put a recording. I understand that aspect because their time is precious and they look, but those individuals at that point, it's all about the money. It's all about the brand, about the building. That's what it is. And you're not there and that's not you. So it's okay to really understand that I love doing my cookbooks and I'm going to put my passion into it. That is okay. You might help somebody, might take a little bit more of the editing work away from you or the photography work eventually away from
the photography or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things I would love to get to a point where somebody else can edit my social media videos. Just the editing alone is such a bottleneck for me.
Oh, you still do that part too. Oh, Michael. I love it. Okay. So there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, buddy.
I know. You see the problem. I know the problem too. I'm not I'm sitting here admitting it. I know.
Yeah, it's the process, right? It's the process.
But it's like that's me also.
I understand,
you know,
but it'll come. It'll come in time. It'll come in time, and it'll come.
I don't know, but like I have a vision when I'm cooking when the restaurant, like in a 60-second video on YouTube, I know exactly how that 60 seconds right off the bat needs to be used. And like every time I've tried to have somebody else do that, it's not. I know.
Yeah, it's hard, but there's other aspects where you could say, okay, you know what? You could listen to the audio or the see the visual and say, okay, minute 1 to minute 3, minute 7 to minute 8. This is what I want you to use. Sure. Deal with it. Like there's ways to split up. You can still have the control of the actual section, but let them do the final work. Right? There's another conversation 100%. For another day. But I mean, it'll come together. It'll come together. You're on the 100% on the right path.
I think in very like business school 101, it's like, you know, I should only be doing the things that only I can do, and everything else I need to start shopping out. And I'm working on it. That's what I'm saying. But I love the aspect of what you're doing, Michael, because don't think it's a bad thing, because I have that mindset as an entrepreneur. You have to know how to do every aspect of your business. When a pandemic hit, my main company here is I've had for 17 years is we design and manufacture boxing martial art equipment, and that's one of my main companies here. And when a pandemic hit, we had to shut down. We had to shut down the office. Staff had to go home. I still ran the online business. I had to come here. If I didn't know how to do a packing labels, how to do receiving, how to do the labels, how to do invoices, I had to do everything. It is what it is. So you being able to do the day-to-day operations, even if you trust somebody else to do them, but you actually knowing how to do them yourself is never a bad thing. Don't think it's a bad thing. Knowing every aspect of your business is a very important thing for an entrepreneur. So I think that's a positive thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel, you know, kind of wrapping it up and tying it into things we've talked about. Like, I do feel like people in my life, whether they're customers or friends or mentors, everybody all the way through the spectrum, I think sees that I put that kind of passion into it, down to Gordon Ramsay. You know, I don't think he would have supported my cookbook if he didn't believe that I put my entire heart into it. And people who bought the cookbook wouldn't have lined up to pre-order the next one if they didn't like that cook, or if the food didn't work, or, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think to some extent, my obsession with quality control is super unhealthy, super unhealthy. But I also feel really proud of the work that I put out, and I don't know how to let go of that. It's, you know,
it's all good, man. It's all good. Quick question. When from you said the last, the All-Star show, from the finale to being live on TV, was the finale live on TV, or that was all pre-recorded, even the finale?
No, we did that straight through. The craziest shit is that every season except this past one, because of the COVID bubble, every other season, the finalists had like a couple months to go home and plan their finale, practice it and rehearse it. We had one day. We finished the semifinal on like Saturday afternoon. I wrote my finale menu out of thin air Sunday from my hotel room, walked in Monday morning for a dress rehearsal, which you just cook it once through. And then the next day, that was it. I practiced it one time after coming up with it from my hotel room, practiced it once. And then Tuesday walked into a live audience. So, and the finale.
So that live audience and that finale, when they're recording it, because it is released, you said almost a year later, like, how does that work to obviously keep it hush hush? Because you got to keep it hush hush, not to ruin the show. Everybody has to sign a contract. Is it like zip your mouth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's very strict NDAs signed by everybody involved. Very, very strict. Very high monetary damages if the show were to be spoiled. Most of the audience, other than the family members, are paid extras.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah. So most of like the studio audience is paid extras, and they kind of know the drill. You know, they're working in LA and try to be respectful. But then also our friends and family who come sign very strict NDAs as well. But it's hard. I mean, it's hard to hold that secret for so long. So that wrapped right before Thanksgiving of 21, and the finale was just a couple weeks ago. A week, mid-September. So almost a year of holding the results completely secret. And again, that's pretty unusual as well. Usually there's a couple months in between. Usually the finale, they do film it sometimes even while the other part of the season is still airing.
Yeah.
They film the finale so that people don't hold that secret for so long. But because of COVID, we filmed it straight through. Our finale was absolute chaos. We had no time to plan for it. And so given that what I know, I'm really proud of everything that I did on that show, not just the finale. I mean, it's the craziest thing ever. I'm really proud of it. But we just had to hold the secret for 10 months.
Other contestants on the show, how is your relationship with them? Is there something that you really kept a strong bond with after the show that you keep in contact with, or you've done plan to do any work together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would say it's about, so I'm lucky. I didn't really make any enemies. There were people that really just clashed.
Yeah. But you don't think I don't think a lot of it's for TV. They kind of make it look like that, or is it really there's clashes?
No, there's clashes.
Oh,
yeah. I actually felt like the editing was almost like watered down. I think
seriously,
there was like times where like people were like really screaming at each other and they never even showed in the edit. I think they like, almost got like too nasty or something. There's definitely some tension there between certain people there, and you lock up a bunch of egotistical chefs together for 3 months, and some people are just not going to get along. We're adults, we're human beings, so people
of course, get along.
It's okay. And it's such a high pressure environment, so it does feel competitive. You're in a competition.
Yeah.
So some people don't get along. Not everybody has drama, but like I didn't have drama, but I don't think every person there liked me. Like I'm not, everybody's got people they connect with and it's fine. But then the group of people that you really connect with become your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I was gonna say family.
Yeah, you go through this experience together, and like we talk about it a lot as cast members, and it's hard to truly like explain this, but we always say like nobody in the world truly understands what we went through but us. And so it's really important, I think, that we have each other now in real life to like kind of pick up the phone and call and just be like, oh, I hated how they did that, or oh, I'm so proud that they did. Like, and just kind of have somebody that understands it. Even like our spouses and family members, they know what we went through, but nobody was in it. The way. So we do form bonds that go with us for life, for sure. Just because we lived together for so long and went through this, and we become really close. So there's 3 or 4 people that I would say some daily, but if not several times a week, I'm on the phone or texting or chatting with these people. Some have come stay at my house, done weekends here since we filmed.
That's awesome.
You definitely get really close. But then there's some people that I haven't spoken one word to since we left. Not because there's beef, but we just didn't. Yeah.
I mean, that's just it's human nature, right?
Yeah.
A fish tattoo on your forearm. When'd you get that?
Oh yeah. I think after season 10, maybe.
After season 10. What other tattoos do you have? What other tattoos do you have?
I got tattoos everywhere. Don't make me take my clothes off.
Piano. Am I going to put you on the spot to play something for me?
No, absolutely not.
No, okay.
I refuse. I'm way too shy for that.
Make some good TV.
I respectfully decline. I'm actually getting red. That's what I'm saying. I'm actually kind of shy.
Fourth cookbook. Have you started that? Have you started putting a thought process into that?
The way my jaw just hit the floor. No, I have not. I'm not. I think I need. I put out 2 cookbooks this year, which is unheard of in this. I mean, most cookbooks take 2 years, start to finish, to go to publish. I wrote a cookbook last year that got delayed from COVID, from like shipping and printers were shut down and stuff. So it actually was supposed to come out over the holidays in 2021 last year. It ended up being pushed to January. So normally you wouldn't put 2 cookbooks out in 1 year, just because it's kind of like, I mean, to ask people to buy 2 of your products in 1 year is kind of crazy. But I had so much more to give. I was really excited. I got really inspired by Masterchef because like Gordon and Joe and stuff would always say like, I don't know how you got these flavors in 45 minutes or whatever. And I was like, you know what, that's a really cool concept. Like how good can you make food in 45 minutes? And as I was writing, that was the original concept, was 45 minutes. As I was writing, I was like, I could do these in 30. And I put, my publisher was like, why are you doing that to yourself? I'm like, I mean, if we can do a book with 30-minute recipes, isn't that even better? You know? So I wrote up, dinner in 30. It's all 30-minute recipes and like super delicious, very few ingredients, really simple food. I think I need to make sure that my creative batteries are charged before I get into a fourth book. It takes just, you know, I don't want to get into a scenario where I don't have
it's too liquefied. You water it down too much if you don't have the juice, right?
Yeah, I need the juice. So right now I'm gonna stay here for a minute. I think on 3. 3 is a nice number too. I like 3. That's why I'm saying like there's a side of me that feels like I'm ready for the next challenge.
Now, your next challenge. When you're looking at yourself as a brand, I'm gonna have a couple quick more questions. And you're looking at yourself as a brand, Chef Michael, and obviously with your logo and everything, you're doing an incredible job with the branding aspect of it. Do you look at yourself as different products where it's like utensils and cookware? And is that where a play will happen eventually?
I think so. Yes, I've thought about it. I think there's a fine line between product launch and merch.
Okay.
And I don't feel like a merch thing is where I want to be.
Okay.
You know, I know that a lot of people do this and can be profitable. But it to me, it feels a little played out, like a little tired. I don't know. I just see so many people on like socials having merch, and this is no shade. I mean, I don't know. That's coming off as like not very nice. That's not what I mean.
No.
I don't think it. Like honestly, like my mission as a part of myself, but also the Chef Michael brand is to genuinely help people cook, and get healthy and get happy and love the food that they're eating. And I don't think you know, a spatula or an apron with my face on it is going to help them do that. I do think that, you know, spices, sauces, marinades, something that could actually be used to cook with, has been a much closer part of my
very cool
of my planning. But particularly like that type of thing, pots and pans or cookware, not particularly, but I've definitely done some R&D and research on sauces, spices, that kind of thing.
But what falls in your wheelhouse, exactly what you're saying. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of know what you are and what makes you special as a company. You know, what problem you solve. Yeah. And for me, I really just want to help people cook. So like my recipes do that. I could also see going a different direction with like pre-made meals or like meal, you know, things like that where, you know, maybe I'm not directly helping them cook, but I'm helping them eat
healthier, eat better.
Eat healthier. And again, a restaurant, same thing that fits. So I think having knowing what you do.
Sticking to your lane and focusing on it. I love that. It's very important. Right. And it's authentic too. People see that and understand that. And it is true. I mean, you do see that very played out with like even the home shopping network and all that, where chefs go on there and they have 30 million utensils and stuff. Yeah, they do make a ton of money. Don't get me wrong, but you've made it very clear that's not your objective right now. Your objective is to build the brand and build and stay in the lane. So I love 100%.
That. I also really like outside of that. I really have fallen in love with TV work. I've done some TV commercials now, basically just like with Grubhub and other things. So Calphalon, I'm working with.
Considering you say you're shy, you're pushing toward that. I love that.
Yeah, but I'm having fun with it. It pushes me. And so like there's other parts of my career that I find really challenging and exciting that I'd love to get into. I guess I just don't really have a particular passion in like getting into that like e-commerce space. Yeah. So if I'm not particularly passionate about it, I'm going to put it on the back burner. Pun intended, I guess.
And the last thing, I mean, you said you pushed away from it. do you still have any investment in real estate? And why I'm asking is I do quite a bit of real estate. Do you still have investment in real estate?
I do. Actually,
Good.
it's funny you ask. Either you really did your research or we're just
I did it.
right now.
We're just flying right now. 100%.
I actually, just a few months ago, bought my first investment flip property in a long time. And so I'm doing that on the side. Literally just was there 6 a.m. yesterday morning, like taking measurements of my kitchen. I'm sort of laughing at myself because real estate's so unglamorous. I feel like TV makes flipping houses really glamorous, but it's not. I went at 6 a.m. before my yoga class to verify the measurements for my kitchen design, before I went to manufacturing. So I go at 6 a.m. because I had a 7 a.m. yoga class or whatever. And I get there and I realize that there's no power because they turned off the power to run all the electrical wiring. And so I'm sitting there like in the pitch black in this like shithole construction site, but 6 a.m. I was like, I'm going to get murdered in, like this house down to the studs, like using my cell phone and a measuring tape. But I love it. I honestly missed it. I'm not even sure why in the middle of MasterChef I decided to flip a house. But again, that's my chaos.
I love it. I mean, I'm into real estate. I mean, I don't flip. I purchase and turn them either into vacation rentals or have commercial units, right? Mm-hmm. And I love just the passive income from it, right? I love building it. And I just went through 7 months where I bought a 1970s cottage, beachfront cottage, and did right through the winter myself. I did essentially a full gut, right to studs, same thing, right to studs. And I did most of the renovations myself. And I was up there once or twice a week by myself doing construction, or I bring a couple of friends or family. And we built up this beautiful, beautiful little cottage for the family. Right. So I love getting your hands dirty. And it's just this thing of building, seeing something come to life that gets exciting. Right. So I love that aspect. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you, because as you're building everything else, that having those little projects on the side, just as much as you don't like it, but that income does help, right? And it does bring the passive income, and it allows you to start building the restaurants and doing other stuff like that. Would you ever think of having like vacation rentals or other passive incomes with rent? Yeah,
I used to have a small rental portfolio. When I moved to Texas, I sold everything because that was basically my runway. Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't really have to use it. So now, and I am also working on, I have a new build. I'm building a rental. I might do it as Airbnb or rental. I got to look at the comps, but I have a new construction that I'm building outside of Austin that will be
busy, huh? Good. Busy, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm not physically building that. I haven't doing that, but I bought a piece of land and are building a house on it. So yes, that is absolutely a part of it. It's funny though, you brought up the secondary income, and I just thought about what I said earlier, because honestly, the rental, certainly secondary income. I want to say that this flip is more just that I missed it. I've really been able to monetize my Chef Michael brand. And so it's not that it's that I want it. I just missed it. I missed the passion, designing.
Yeah. I think the design, the designing part is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think you kind of said this a minute ago, but there's something I love, like the creation. I love taking something ugly and creating something with it. And I kind of missed that feeling. I do it with food all the time. I think it's one of the things that I love about cookbooks too. Like I love sort of having something and being like, I did that. It's really empowering. And I love that piece of my work. And so I think I just missed it, I mean, maybe it's just, I want to keep a little bit of I know I'm realistic also. And I know that, with the work that I'm doing in TV, social media, chefing, it could all fall apart, right? It's a reality for me that I face every day. It's tough to exist in that world. So maybe there's a side of me subconsciously that's like, maybe I should just keep a toe in the real estate pool in case all of this falls apart. But truth be told, I think it's more just the hustle, the game, the fun, the challenge.
That actually was the reason I got into real estate about 10 years ago. I looked at the brands I was building. I looked at everything, and I thought, like, I'm still the face of these companies. I'm still running these companies. I got a wife at home. I got 2 children. If something were to happen today, these companies would fall apart in 2 minutes. And what would happen to their future? And I looked at having the sustainability of a property that was going to go up in value, that was going to bring in income. If something were to happen to me, they would financially be taken care of. And that's how that all started. So there is an aspect of that, right? Is that security, and there's nothing like real estate to have that security, right? That asset.
No. Yeah. And you could use fancy words like diversification, whatever, whatever we want to say. I don't think it's a bad thing for us to have multiple revenue streams. Yeah. But again, money isn't the point. It's the freedom or the security of, at least I know I'm okay, that I think is, we want to exist in a space where we can like sleep comfortably. Believe me, when you're working as a TV chef and cookbook author, like, I don't know, like I could literally never get one more TV show. This 3rd book could completely flop and Instagram could get shut down tomorrow. And then now what? Right. Like, so I think that that's a tricky space to navigate for me mentally. And so there are certain systems in place that make me feel better about my life.
More secure.
But it is fun too. It is fun too.
This has been absolutely awesome, Michael. I appreciate it. I'm sure I'm going to have you on again.
I'd be honored.
And just give our audience just info how to follow you. You have your own podcast, I read, as well.
Yeah, I got to do a 2nd season, man. I wasn't expecting the show to happen. And I was living in LA for all last year.
So let our audience
that 2nd season, but yes,
let our audience plug. Give me all your plugins.
Yes, I have a podcast. I mean, you can just go to my YouTube channel and search. It's literally youtube.com/Chef Michael. Cooking videos, as well as the podcast is all there, but it's also on Spotify if you just search The Talk with Chef Michael. I don't know if you noticed, I do talk a lot. Oops.
Awesome. It's awesome.
On socials at Chef Michael Keto on Instagram, or Chef Michael on TikTok and YouTube. My book is anywhere books are sold. You can pre-order it now. It comes out October 25th. Dinner in 30. And then I have a bunch of links on my website for all of the above: podcasts, recipes, cookbooks, socials. Everything is at chefmichael.com, but there's the dash. Put it on the screen. Whoever does your post,
I'll do all that stuff.
chef-michael.com. And you can watch, if you didn't watch Masterchef, it's on Hulu too. If you're curious, season 12.
This has been awesome, buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking your time. This has been a ton of fun. This has been a ton of fun. So I'm sure we're going to keep in contact, and I'm sure we'll keep our relationship growing from here. So I love that, man. Have you ever been to Toronto, Canada?
Of course. Yeah, I love Toronto. Yes.
Very cool. Very
you guys
cool.
have amazing food.
Our restaurants, I mean, it's so diverse. The cultural diversity here is incredible. The restaurants are incredible. Sure. Nightlife in restaurants here is incredible. This has been awesome, buddy. Thank you so much.
The food from around the world is amazing.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother.